Welcome to the Active Travel Adventures podcast. I'm your host, Kit Parks. You know it's the beginning of the year when I bring out my most popular episode of the year, most popular post of the year, which is the best travel podcast for the upcoming year. So today I've got 30 of the best travel podcasts you should be checking out for 2023. I can't wait to share them with you, so let's get started. The pandemic put a lot of travel podcasts out of business. So there have been a lot of changes in this year's list compared to last year's and sadly the year before, because a lot of them just stopped producing. Podcasts are very time consuming and can be expensive to produce. And so a lot of them just couldn't quite pull it off because travel was hit so badly during the pandemic. But I've got 30 great podcasts for you to check out in alphabetical order. Here we go. Number one, Active Travel Adventures, my own podcast. This show seeks to empower you to lead a bigger life through adventure travel. Each episode, we go to some amazing destinations and we hike, bike, and paddle our way as a way to explore the country and the culture and just get a much more in-depth and I think meaningful experience from our travels. We come back feeling energized instead of exhausted. And it's just a lot of fun, both learning about these destinations and encouraging you to get out there and do them. So again, number one on the list is my very own Active Travel Adventures. Number two on the list is travel, but with a slant. It's more about adventures in your retirement, and it's called AdventuRetired. They just kind of combine the two words. So it's adventure and retired all as one word. In fact, I was featured on that show, and I'll put a link in the show notes if you'd like to check it out. On AdventuRetired, hosts Cindy and Kurt interview guests about interesting places they've gone, and it's a focus on retirement and having a wonderful retirement. And as somebody in my 60s, I find it helpful and informative and inspiring. So number two is AdventuRetired. Number three on the list, and been on the list every single year I've been producing this, is Amateur Traveler. Amateur Traveler, since 2005, has been talking about a different destination each week. It goes all over the world with an emphasis on culturally rich travel. You'll learn in depth where to go, what to see, what to eat, etc. from people that have been there. In fact, I was interviewed on that and also put a link to that in the show notes. And again, so at number three is Amateur Traveler with Chris Christensen, one of the most popular travel podcasts out there. Number four is Armchair Explorer. In Armchair Explorer, you'll see exciting adventures from all over the world. You'll hear exciting tales that will inspire you and get you motivated to get out there, stretch your comfort level a little bit, and go have some fun, often with a little twitch. So number four is Armchair Explorer. Number five, it's a little bit more niche because it's concentrating on just the UK, and this is a recommendation, I got turned on to this by Shar, and it's BBC Ramblings. On each episode, you'll learn about different areas of the UK while literally rambling or walking in the UK. So number five is BBC Ramblings. Number six is another niche one, but if you're on the road, if you're a road warrior, Business Travel 360 is for you. It's a weekly business travel podcast that updates you on what's going on in business travel. And since the pandemic, travel has changed dramatically, so in less than 15 minutes, you can get the latest scoop to make your business travel life a little bit easier. So at number six, Business Travel 360. And don't forget, I'm going to have all this in the show notes and on the website, so you don't have to make notes if you're driving or jogging, all that. If you get the monthly newsletter, you'll get that automatically, and I don't spam you. You get one email a month, usually the first Thursday of the month, and it'll have all whatever the downloads are for that previous month, and you'll have access to all previous travel planners and downloads. So you can always reach out to me at kit@activetraveladventures.com to get on the list. Hit the contact me button in the show notes on your phone, or go to the website activetraveladventures.com and hit the contact us. It comes right to me because Active Travel Adventures is basically just me. So when you write, you get me, and I love to hear from you. So let me get back to the list. Up at number 7 is the Conde Nast Traveler Podcast. If you like storytelling, this is a great travel podcast for you. You'll go to some of your favorite places and hear some great stories, memoirs, and learn about some dream-worthy destinations, all read aloud by the writers who penned them. So at number 7, Conde Nast, Traveler Podcast. Number 8 is Eye on Travel by Peter Greenberg. Each week, this respected travel journalist will take you to a different location and interview a local expert so you get the inside scoop of that location. Again, that's Eye on Travel with Peter Greenberg. Coming up at number 9 is Frommer's. I know you've heard of them from the Europe on $5 a day back when I was growing up. This show is hosted by author's daughter, Pauline Frommer, and she gives you the inside scoop of what's going on in the world of travel today. So again, at number 9 is Frommer's. And number 10, I'm glad to get back to another independent. Sadly, in the podcast world, it's getting to be more dominated by the larger corporations that are able to buy the ads and buy the eyeballs and earballs and all that. So I like to see independents such as myself and number 10, Jump with Traveling Jackie, out there and on the list. On Jump Podcast, Jackie encourages you, as do I, to get out there and see the world, to do something fun. And I've traveled with her on my Croatia trip. She is an adventure junkie. She loves to hike, bike, paddle. So you'll see a lot of adventure in her shows, as well as destination orientation. So again, that's Jump, J-U-M-P, the Jump Podcast with Traveling Jackie, coming in at number 10. Number 11, new to the list, is Out of Office. Ryan Davis and Kiernan Schmidt talk about all sorts of travel topics, from the fun to the ridiculous to the serious. Their goal is to give you advice on how to get out there and explore the world. So again, number 11 is Out of Office. Number 12, speaking of travel, Marilyn Ball, the host, talks to people from around the world and gets their encouraging, uplifting travel experiences with a focus on sustainability and education. At number 13, we have the Atlas Obscura podcast. In less than 15 minutes, they're going to take you to some incredible place around the world, exploring all the wonders of the world, some of the strange, incredible, and wondrous places on this planet Earth. So if you only have a little bit of time, this is a great podcast to check out. Again, number 13, the Atlas Obscura podcast. Coming in at number 14, the Big Travel podcast. If you like storytelling, this is a great travel podcast for you. The show explores life journeys through the lens of travel. You'll learn about things like what makes travel inspire you, what makes you get up and go. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and sometimes you'll even cringe a little bit, but the encouragement is to keep you traveling. So again, number 14 is the Big Travel podcast, hosted by Lisa Francesca Nand. At number 15, this one again is a little bit more niche. This is the Overland Journal podcast. Overlanding is when you are traveling by vehicle, often to remote destinations. So if you like hardcore road trip that's even more extreme than a road trip, you might want to check out the Overland Journal podcast. The Overland Journal podcast talks about travelers and topics and all the news relating to the whole overlanding community and the industry itself. The fact that the show is produced by the Overland Journal magazine. In fact, Overland describes itself as self-reliant adventure travel to remote destinations where the journey is the primary goal. Again, at number 15 is the Overland Journal podcast. Coming at number 16, another short but very to-the-point podcast. It's called the Thoughtful Travel Podcast. Host Amanda Kendall interviews generally 3 guests about a specific topic and gets their tips and insights on that topic, sharing stories. It's very compact, little nugget that you can get on your way to the grocery store and have a little bit of thought and insight about travel today. Another storytelling podcast is our number 17, the Travel Diaries. Holly Rubenstein interviews guests about their travel experiences, their tales, their journeys, their earliest childhood memories of travel. Where's the first place they fell in love with? Where's their favorite destination? Do they have any hidden gems they can recommend? So Holly's guests can introduce you to all sorts of far-flung and exotic destinations and give you a little insight of what makes us have that wanderlust. So again, at number 17, the Travel Diaries. Coming in number 18 is the TravelPulse podcast. On the TravelPulse podcast, Eric Bauman discusses travel news, gives you some tips, and learn more about travel with industry experts and other guests. So if travel is your thing, check out the TravelPulse podcast at number 18. At number 19, the trip that changed me. Longtime listeners will know that my trip to Nicaragua is what changed me, what got me into adventure travel. Often there's some pivotal moments in your life that literally change the direction of your life. This podcast would not be were it not for that Nicaragua trip, I don't believe. So on the trip that changed me, you'll hear about other people's Nicaragua story. What was it that changed their life? You'll hear bi-weekly interviews with entrepreneurs, entertainers, activists, authors, running the whole spectrum of the world, telling their personal tales of life-changing travel. Again, that number 19 is the trip that changed me. Number 20, tips for travelers. On Tips for Travelers, Gary Bembridge shares travel inspiration, gives you advice and tips and money-saving ideas based on his firsthand experience. He's been traveling for over 25 years, and each episode will feature either destination reviews, answers to listener questions, live travel reports, cruise line reviews, and advice of getting the most from them. So if you want to talk all things travel, check out Tips for Travelers at number 20. At number 21, Travel Goals Podcast. Host Portia Jones is a travel journalist that'll take you on a deep dive with travel experts to give you again what's new in travel and teaches you a lot of actionable travel hacks. You'll get some destination inspiration and hear stories of travel adventures from all over the world. If you want the inside scoop on travel, be sure to check out Travel Goals Podcast at number 21. Another favorite at number 22 is Travel Tales by AFAR. On this show, you'll see how travel can change the way you see the world. The episodes dig into stories from people, again, another transformative travel show, where sometimes travel literally does change your life. And Travel Tales by AFAR seeks to inspire you to travel more. So at number 22, Travel Tales by AFAR. At number 23, on a lighter note, Travel Tales. Comedian Mike Siegel interviews guests often in the entertainment industry about their travel tales. And it's very lighthearted, sometimes silly, sometimes hysterical, and always entertaining. You'll hear things that went right, you'll hear things that went wrong, but you're sure to get a laugh. If you're looking for some lighthearted travel inspiration and eavesdropping in like you're drinking a cup of coffee, check out Travel Tales at number 23. At number 24, Travel with Meaning. Mike Chabelle interviews artists, entertainers, athletes, entrepreneurs, and travel experts about their stories that have impacted their life. If you notice a theme, a lot of the storytelling is focusing on why do we travel? What is making travel change us? It's one of the things I love about travel. In fact, as I'm recording this, I'm on an extended trip in South America, and I think a lot about the direction of my life. And when I compare and contrast where I live to the places I've been visiting, it helps come into focus what's important to me. And I think a lot of these travel podcasts that focus on these stories emphasize the transformative power of travel. And that's why I've included so many on this list. So again, at number 24, Travel with Meaning. Can't have a travel podcast list without something to do with Rick Steves. So at number 25 is Travel with Rick Steves, mostly Europe. Steves is the author of over 30 best-selling guidebooks. And this podcast is basically his public radio station that you've heard him talking about all things travel. And also, even though they don't seem to be producing anymore, listener Jennifer P. recommends Rick Steves over brunch. The released episodes are still out there and provide valuable insights into assorted destinations. So if you're into doing something in Europe, you're sure to find what you need on Travel with Rick Steves at number 25. Another European-focused podcast at number 26, recommended by Peggy, is UK Travel Planning. If you want to learn about something to do in England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, check out UK Travel Planning to get the inside scoop. Another niche one, this one recommended from Noma at number 27, is Untold Italy. Same thing, but about all things Italy. At number 28, We Travel There with Lee Huffman. Lee interviews locals from around the world to share their hidden treasures of their city. Get beyond the basic tourist attractions and find the best things to do, to eat, to drink, and what to see from a local's point of view. You'll get the advantage of that insider knowledge with Lee's interviews on We Travel There, coming in at number 28. We're almost near the end. You can see we're down to in the W's now. At number 29, Women Who Travel. Obviously by the name, it's with the slant for those females and their different perspective on travel. Most of the time things are the same, males and females, but sometimes we women have a few different issues that men don't necessarily have to worry about so much. So you'll get the inside scoop from the lens of a female. At number 29, Women Who Travel. And last, and certainly not least, one of my favorite and engaging podcasts I can recommend is Zero to Travel with host Jason Moore. I have to credit Jason with giving me the courage to get out there and do some of the crazy travels I've been doing in the last 5 years. Because I hear his guests and I was like, if they can do it, I can do it. And that's what I try to do on my show too. I try to interview people that are just like us, you and me, and they're doing some amazing things. And it gives you the incentive, encourage, motivation to get out there and spread your wings a little bit and try it. And Jason does that with a slant towards the more budget travel. His focus is on how to travel cheaply if you don't have a lot of money, but there's still a lot of great information. And like I said, it was very motivational for me, even though I don't have to go as budget as some of his guests do. I still learn an awful lot and I get encouraged. And that's why I love recommending the Zero to Travel podcast, which comes in at number 30. And also, he did interview me back before I even started the podcast. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes about how to take cheap Alaskan cruises by using the Alaska ferry system. So again, I'll have a link to that in the show notes. There's a reason almost 10 million people have downloaded Jason's podcast. I encourage you to listen to it. Again, it's Zero to Travel. I hope you've enjoyed the 30 recommendations that I've given today. I'll have lists again in the show notes on the website, and you will get it if you get the monthly newsletter so that you can check them out and hopefully get some travel inspiration for 2023. I'd love to hear from you on what places you would like to go to, and did I miss one of your favorites? You can always reach out to me at kit@activetraveladventures.com. You know I love those emails. Keep them coming. Appreciate the input from Jennifer, Shar, Noma, and Peggy to help me flesh out this list. There's over 2 million podcasts now, so it's easy to miss some, particularly the small niche ones, because it can be a little bit difficult to break out from the pack in the podcast world, which is another reason, if you do like the Active Travel Adventures podcast, I sure encourage you to share it with your friends, particularly your adventurous friends. It's the number one way people find out about podcasts. That, and of course, the best travel podcast list that we put out each year in January. Thanks again for listening. This is Kit Parks. Adventure on.